Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the delay in start. My name is Mabina Siabe. I'm the Director of Communication in the Mayor's Office. I welcome you to the Cllr Mpho Phalatse Council Chamber, Executive Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, Chief Whip of Council, as well as the Chief of Staff in the Office of the Executive Mayor, Mr. Michael Moriarty. This will be a program where we outline what the work that the multi-party government has embarked on over the last 8 months since taking office. The work that will be articulated today is work that had been taken upon and identified by the executive when they came into office. The various MMCs will outline the work that they have been doing in their various portfolios. Equally, the executive mayor will give an overview of said work. For now, I call on the MMC for Health and Social Development, Councillor Ashley Souls, the first to lead us in prayer. MMC, if you could step to the mic here.
The order changed. To the Executive Mayor, to my fellow MMCs, to the media and everyone present here, to the residents of this great city, whom we consider the actual gold of the city. Good morning. My name is Ashley Souls the first. I'm the MMC for Health and Social Development. I think I want to start by just reminiscing on something I read in a book of my mentor and my political leader, His Excellency Gayton McKenzie, who quotes Einstein in one of his books. And Einstein says if he had 1 hour to fix the world, he will use 55 minutes to understand the problem. And he will use 5 minutes to fix it. And I want to reassure the residents of the city of Johannesburg that we are not there yet, but we are in our 55 minutes. We are understanding the problem, but we are very close to our 5 minutes. So some of the highlights that I think the Executive Mayor will also touch on, but some of the things that, some of the highlights that we have recognized in the Department of Health and Social Development. We've launched an abattoir facility in Aikenhof as an example. Then I note that we said that the Davidsonville Treatment Center is going to be launched in about 4 months. I just want to correct that. As one of our Golden Start programs, the Davidsonville Treatment Center is actually being launched tomorrow, which is on Friday. Thank you very much. And then, of course, in health, there's a lot that's been happening. We have launched 4 mobile clinics. There has been 2 clinics that's been upgraded and also launched and opened. But I think one of the major things that I would like to celebrate, and which I want to thank all of the staff of health and social development for working extremely hard to ensure that we get to this point in such a short space of time, is for many years there's been a struggle. The National Health Act grants us the opportunity to start what is called the District Health Council, which seeks to monitor health facilities and to keep province responsible for health within the city. And the Act empowers the MMC designated, which is myself, to chair this particular District Health Council. And for years, there's been a struggle to get it up and running. And I'm glad to inform the residents today that as we speak, finally, there is a District Health Council in the city of Johannesburg. And then because we are also a team of truth and transparency, so we're not trying to make it look like we are miracle workers, but we are seeking to let the residents of the city of Johannesburg understand that we are at work, we're working very hard to do our best. And so there are, of course, challenges, and some of the challenges that I've discovered whilst being in office is that environmental health is a very important factor in our department. However, environmental health has been treated like a stepchild, and yet it is the core competency of local government. But that is about to change because we are now prioritizing as well environmental health and also focusing on the needs of our EHPs, our environmental health practitioners, because they are just as important as our nurses. We've also experienced challenges such as retention because our nurses, our EHPs, our social workers are not receiving a good salary in comparison to that of others in other municipalities. And of course, that also needs to change because we cannot expect a high level of service and we ourselves do not show extreme care to those that has to render that services. I must also admit that I've also discovered that the CAPEX budget in health has for years been used as not a needs analysis for what the needs of the people are within the city of Johannesburg, but has been used as a cash cow for profit. That's about to change. And then we have a very important unit, which is the ESP unit under social development, which provides for the indigent within our city. This ESP unit is a very essential unit that provides a key essential service, but our ESP staff is literally all of them are EPWP candidates. So they are employed as EPWPs, which is just for 2 years, and then they go out of the system, and then we have to bring in new people. And that's not how it's supposed to be, because for years they have been treated, and that for me is a different form of exploitation. But that has to change. So I want to let the EPWP staff and everyone in our department know that that is about to change, and there will be some security around your future within this department, and that's why I chose to wear this particular top so that it says EPWP behind on my back, because we are finally providing attention to those that has not in the previous term has not been considered as important or as golden. But in this administration, everyone that provides a service in the Health and Social Development Department is considered important. As I conclude, we have coined, because our responsibility out of the 7 mayoral priorities is a caring city. And so we've coined an acronym for the word CARE. And so it means for the Health and Social Development Department, CARE is that we are called to act with passion, respond with compassion, and execute our duties with military precision. I thank you.
MMC, I think in the excitement of briefing the residents of Johannesburg about the work that you have been doing in your portfolio, I think you forgot about what needed to happen when you step up here. So may I please ask you to come back and give us that prayer as we open this ceremony. Thank you very much.
Maybe I should pray for myself. All right. So let us close our eyes, and those that are wearing hats, let's remove it, for that is some of our practices, and we are going to pray. Heavenly Father, we give you all the praise, the glory, and the honor. We want to say thank you for this opportunity to be transparent in our approach of the work that we do. For those that you have tasked us to be stewards to. We are not VIPs. We are servants of the people. And we don't just do this because of the art of politics. But I want to believe that you have assigned us to master and become specialists in the heart of politics. We genuinely care. We care for the residents of the city. And no matter what the onslaught is, no matter what the perceptions is that are being created, but we pray. It is your word that declares that the truth sets us free. And so no matter what the onslaught is, no matter what the attempts are to bind up and stop the work that we do, we pray today that the truth will set us free. The truth that will be articulated today by our executive mayor and by my colleagues, my fellow MMCs, that as we speak truth into the atmosphere, I pray that it resonates with every single resident within the city. I give you praise, glory, and honor, because I know that this you shall do with thanksgiving in my heart. I say, and everyone that agrees with me, say amen.
Thank you very much, MMC. Next to the podium is the MMC for Group Corporate and Shared Services, Councillor Leah Knott, who also serves as the leader of Executive Business. Part of her work is ensuring that the MMCs do their work in council, aside from doing the work that they do for communities across the city. A round of applause for the MMC.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I just want to start off to say I actually really like the individuals behind me. I think we have a very strong team, and I think it's why we're able to sit here and say that we have things to deliver to the city of Johannesburg. We're able to communicate, we're able to engage, and we're starting to break down that silo mentality, which is actually where a lot of our problems lie. So thank you to all of you and to the Executive Mayor for selecting us. I think she's done a really good job in terms of that. From my perspective, we do a lot of internal work. So Group Corporate and Shared Services deals with your human resources, labor relations, your fleet contracts, your core contracts within the city, and a lot of other things such as occupational injuries, health and safety. So it's a lot of internal stuff you don't see on the ground, but it has a profound impact on what we do on the ground. If we don't have happy and safe employees, we don't get service delivery. If we don't fix the problems within the city in terms of our labor issues, we don't have service delivery. So I'll take you through a few of the things that we've actually actioned within the past couple of months. The biggest one probably being the clearance of over 50 million rand that we owed to hospitals. In February, we got a call to state that the hospitals would no longer be treating our JMPD officers and our EMS officials, or even our city power officials who were injured on duty, and we had to race against the clock to clear this 50 million rand or more. This is a backlog of almost a decade. It was 8 to 9 years worth of medical payments that had not been made. We now have very, very good relationships with those hospitals, and I'd just like to thank the team for working so hard to get on par with that. In terms of senior leadership, we are responsible for Section 56 managers, your executive directors and group heads across the city departments. We have advertised all vacant positions. Some of them we have re-advertised, and we're looking at changing the job descriptions in order to expand the scope of what we have. In terms of that, we have already appointed a new Executive Director of Development Planning. I did see Mr. Zunaid Khan here earlier. We have also appointed the Head of GSPCR, which is a department that has not seen a true leader in almost 10 years. In terms of the 4 senior managers, including the city manager, Group Corporate and Shared Services, Group Governance, and there is another one that is escaping me at the moment, but we're in the final recruitment stages of that one. We should be bringing them to council very soon. Many of these are also a couple of years in vacancy. The other 3 are being advertised. That would include health, economic development, and our group CFO. Suspended senior managers who were implicated in bribery, maladministration, or who lacked qualifications for the job. We did have one senior manager who resigned before he could be suspended or disciplined. However, in terms of the new regulations, we'll be keeping records of these and lodging them with National Treasury so that these don't just disappear. I think that's one of the issues our residents have, is that a lot of these cases just disappear when people resign. That won't be happening. We also implemented from the 1st of April, I think we were one of the first municipalities besides Cape Town, if I'm not mistaken, who implemented a full 100% return to work. We did this in order to ensure that our services could be delivered on the ground. We passed the first hybrid working policy in the city and in the country, actually. I know Cape Town was also looking at our model to implement there. And we've already had a few departments that have implemented it. It's actually not being abused. We thought it might be, but officials have taken this quite seriously. And they're actually churning out more policy and more productive work in terms of being able to use that. We're in the process with our Section 79 committees and a lot of our chairpersons in terms of revising and consolidating our policies. We have at least 27 policies, I think, that relate to human resources, but it's so distant from each other that a lot of departments aren't following them because they can't find the next annexure. So we're consolidating so everybody's on the same page. We did award the maintenance contract for fire engines. I know in the beginning that saw us go from at least 4 on the ground to at least 13 vehicles. Not ideal, but we are in the process of the Red Fleet contract at the moment. This is where we have our challenges. The city manager, or acting city manager, Brian Maduka, thankfully is helping us with this. It is an entrenched issue within the city, contract management, and we see it across all our core policies, but it is something that we are looking at in terms of a lack of monitoring, line departments that are responsible for their payments, and also looking at the actual specs and adjudication of these tenders. So we should very soon be able to put in place a proper contract management system. The UIF reduction strategy has been approved by the Group Audit Committee. It's also sitting at the Section 79 Governance Strategic session this week. We've held engagements with all the MMCs in their departments to look at the critical issues within their departments, and the focus is also on a resolution of audit findings. We revised the locomotion allowances of frontline employees. This has not been adjusted since 1999. So we're paying officials on the ground petrol rates on 1999 rates. You can understand what that actually means. It means you have environmental health inspectors in your ward maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, because they cannot afford to subsidize the work. It has got its challenges a little bit, probably because it's so long in the running that it requires quite extensive turnout. So we've done the critical frontline, building inspectors, environmental health, etc. Within this year, in adjustment budget in the beginning of 2023 financial year, we will look at implementing completely across the board. But we have set up a platform for employees who have issues and discrepancies, and the MMCs are also engaging us where there are a little bit of adjustments that needs to be made, but I think it's quite monumental. We've also implemented the IT system in terms of leave management. We're looking at that in terms of also performance and consequence management. The leave management was costing the city up to 100 million rand a year, plus minus, because we were not capturing leave correctly. It was a huge audit finding with the Auditor General, and I know the teams worked very hard during December, but that is now all electronic, and we shouldn't have that problem going forward. We've also announced the rollout of lifestyle audits for all councillors as well as senior officials, which will be implemented during this financial year. It'll take off in the second quarter. We have started enhancing our recruitment processes. You'll see we have a new look on our website. We've refined the adverts. We've also opened up platforms for residents to engage with us so that they know where these adverts are. We'll be rolling out informative information to all of our potential candidates, the importance of a CV, the importance of not applying for 100 different jobs, what you should be including in your CV, what jobs you should be applying for, so that we actually get the right recruits for the right jobs. We've also gone and made them all non-discriminatory. We have made them age inclusive. It was a big problem for our residents during the IDP. The skills audit implementation, we actually had an engagement with our MMCs yesterday on implementing the skills audit. There is a big deficits in the city in terms of skills and competency, so that is something we'll be addressing. CRUM, we will be capacitating. I think they will all be receiving their PPE by this month, and we will be capacitating those units to augment the service delivery that our other MMCs provide. We've also, through the Mayor, included the regional directors in our mayoral planning as well as our budget planning so that we can close that gap. We've launched the OHASA campaign, myself and MMC Mbundu, who's from the MMC of Economic Development. We've started launching our health and safety within our regional facilities, not only for our employees, some of them work under very dire conditions, the lifts don't work, the stairs aren't lit, you know, things like that, but it also affects our residents who go to these facilities. So with all of our teams, we are actually hoping to get these up and running with very quick solutions so they can be implemented. Funny story is that some of these health and safety officials had never actually met the officials from repairs and maintenance, ever. So those are the bridges that we are building. We also have had a discussion around our bursary programs, making it more inclusive. We want to look at not focusing purely on university degrees, but also TVET colleges. We will be also opening it for qualifications and bursaries for sports, arts, and the like, so that people have more options. I think, in terms of that, I've mentioned a lot of our challenges. It's contract negotiations, massive fleet contracts. We're one of the biggest. Our quality recruitment, but these are all things that we're addressing going forward. I think I've been overarching. There's probably a lot more, but thank you very much.
Thank you, MMC. What's clear is that the MMC has a large portfolio, not only one that looks after the residents of Johannesburg, but equally those of us employed to advance service delivery programs of this multi-party government. Thank you, MMC. Next, I call on the MMC for Development Planning, the builder of the city, Councillor Belinda Echiozonjoku. MMC, if you could please step up.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Executive Mayor, MMCs, everyone here, and the residents of Johannesburg. As the MMC for Development Planning, it can be a bit of a headache sometimes because everybody needs to see where the city is going in the next 3 to 5 years. So there's quite a bit of pressure, but I'm ready for the challenge, and we've taken the challenge with a stride. In the beginning of our term, we have committed to going online and make the city, as part of us becoming a world-class metropolitan city, not just an African city. And we've gone full steam ahead. We've gone online. We went online with our construction management permit system on the 10th of January. We also committed that we would, from the 1st of July, we would be 10 days, there would be 10 days approval of building plans. Unfortunately, we have not been there yet. We are not there yet because of the backlog of what we've received that was in the system, and also the shortage of human capital that we've had in the department. There were some IT challenges and outages as a result of load shedding, and so we've had to introduce some interim measures to be able to mitigate the situation. In the past week, we have started extending our operating hours in order to deal with the backlog of the building plan approvals that are in the system. And last week, we've actually processed about 893 building plan approvals, and of these, we have had about 100 which were for RDP houses that have been approved. So we're really, truly building an inclusive city. We've also committed to improving service to developers and the city's property owners. We initiated recruitment for key technical vacancies in the land use and building management system. In some instances, we've also had to extend some of the contracts of some of the officials that were nearing retirement, and instead of us losing those valued skills of 30 years, some of them 30 years plus, we've had to ask them to please stay on so we can obviously there can be a proper transfer of skills before they go on retirement. We've also initiated the development of the online complaint system for the department's single law enforcement unit, and this is currently in the testing phase. We've also committed to bringing order to zoning and construction compliance in the inner city. And in my role as the MMC of Development Planning overseeing the inner city, we took hold of the zoning compliance, and we're doing enforcement, building compliance enforcement every 2 weeks within the city, and we follow up with JMPD where they've been block by block. We follow on, and we also do the same. We're also working through the Municipal Planning Tribunal's 18-month backlog that we found. There were objections and appeals, and as the MMC with a delegated authority from the Executive Mayor to review the finalization of all the cases from the tribunal. I've also requested for a new external expert panel that they call for external experts to come in order to change the composition of the Municipal Planning Tribunal. So there's not only city officials, but also people from the public to make it more transparent. And these we've called out for people from the public to come in, and that is now more transparent, and there's more variety of people on the tribunal. And this will oversee land use and building objections and appeals. We also committed to transforming Joburg into an inclusive and modern metropolitan city. The Special Development Framework 2040 was put forward for review and for inputs from residents, councillors, and various stakeholder groups. We've also approved the Randburg Development Framework. It's been approved by Council. Also, the Frankenwald Urban Development Framework has also been approved by Council. We've also had the JDA turnaround strategy, and it's being tweaked a little bit because there are some changes that we need, and the new CEO has seen some amendments that he'd like to make to the turnaround strategy. With that said, we've also successfully appointed the new CEO of JDA. We've also appointed our new executive director at development planning. And also we committed to welcoming investors and developers that create jobs and want to invest in the city. We've had a successful launch of the Soweto Strategic Area Framework with our Department City Transformation and Spatial Planning Directorate, the NGO Violence Prevention through Urban Upgrading, and the UK government's Prosperity Fund. The area framework, it will drastically upgrade the area around Vilakazi Street for residents, commuters, tourists, and Soweto-based businesses. We are currently also planning and proposing a City of Johannesburg Development Sector and Construction Summit, which we are hoping to have in the next few months, and that will include all major developers, property owners, planners, and architects. We've also had some successful engagements with our businesses interaction from the U.S. Consulate General, facilitated by the U.S. Consulate General, where we've interacted with businesses from Houston, and also we've had successful oversight to see on funds that were spent on the Soweto Strategic Area Framework with the UK Consulate General as well in Soweto. So we've had quite a bit of successes, and we're looking forward to more and more coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MMC. Next, I call up MMC Funzingobeni, who is the MMC for Transport, and he will also be representing the MMC for Economic Development, Councillor Mbundu. Thank you very much, MMC.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and good morning to all the colleagues who are here and the media. Executive Mayor, as I've already been introduced, my name is Funzingobeni, the MMC of Transport. I'm responsible for the overall planning authority of transport throughout the city of Johannesburg. I also play an oversight role over two entities, Metrobus and JRA. As clear as those responsibilities may appear to some people, there remains some confusion about exactly what my department does. Some say we build and maintain and repair roads and traffic signals. Others say we operate one of the largest bus companies of the country, in the country. The truth is that we do all those things and much more. I would like to think that our responsibility is far more complex and certainly far more integral to the functioning of the city. In short, ladies and gentlemen, we drive the economy, literally and figuratively. Literally, in that Metrobus bears the responsibility of ensuring that residents of the city who are reliant on affordable services provided by this bus entity move from one place to another as seamlessly as possible. Of course, the last part of that statement is still aspirational at this point, But such is the nature of the responsibility that is bestowed on the multi-party coalition government. We have been brought here to fix what was broken, and we certainly have scored significant victories in this regard. Just to name a few, in July, we celebrated the conclusion of the 49 million bus refurbishment program, and at its inception, that program had a goal of refurbishing 100 buses, but we managed to squeeze out as much as we could out of the budget to ultimately refurbish 105 buses. We celebrate this achievement considering that this initial program targeted our much older fleet, that is our 12 to 15-year-old buses. But we decided to be proactive as well. Over the next 3 years, Metrobus will undertake a further 3-year, 90 million bus refurbishment program. We are particularly excited by this program. While this first installment managed to refurbish 105 buses, the budget of 49 million, the prospect of refurbishing more seems more realistic this time around. This is because the new refurbishment program will target our newer 7-year-old buses with much larger budget. But ladies and gentlemen, there are other exciting developments in the horizon. Metrobus will receive a budget, obviously, in the next financial year to purchase new buses. There are also plans for an automated fare collection system that will assist Metrobus to protect its revenue. The other day, Executive Mayor, the Metrobus team came to present their revised strategic report to me that will be able to assist us in turning around Metrobus in a sustainable way. Let me touch on Rea Vaya. With regards to Rea Vaya, ladies and gentlemen, we are confident of operationalizing phase 1CA that will actually be going from CBD through to Sandton via Orange Grove and Alexander. In my engagement with Executive Director of Transport this morning, she has confirmed with me that a lot of work is still happening in that regard. We hope that we'll be able to have this phase operationalized latest around Q3, the end of Q3 of this financial year. Because talks are ongoing with regards to acquisition of buses that will be able to transport residents along Louis Botha Avenue. After 12 years of operating rights of the first Rea Vaya link, phase 1A from Soweto to CBD, it will come to an end in January 2023. The process is currently underway to appoint a new service provider, and while I cannot say much, I wish the officials responsible for this task all the best. Let our work be driven by a deep sense of duty and responsibility to our residents. Executive Mayor, let me just quickly go to JRA. At JRA, organizational stability has finally returned to the entity. We now have a permanent CEO to steer the ship, and the process to appoint permanent HODs has gone very well. We will make announcements very soon in this regard. But why is organizational stability so important to JRA? It is important to ensure that the city has confidence in JRA to be able to allocate a budget of 1.1 billion for capital projects. Organizational stability is very important in that regard because in the last financial year, owing to internal challenges, the JRA saw its budget reduced to about 750 million. But the multi-party coalition government went to work, identified challenges, and went about resolving them one at a time. In February, we launched RSebetseng, a region-by-region service delivery blitz campaign aimed at addressing the backlog that accumulated during the COVID-19 period when JRA was unfortunately not declared an essential service. Again, this matter was addressed within weeks of the multi-party government coming into power. JRA staff returned to work on a full-time basis and began addressing service delivery backlogs. These positive developments are having an immediate impact on service delivery. Resurfacing of M2 highway is firmly underway, and I take this opportunity to apologize to our residents for the resultant traffic. We are working to introduce the shift policy, which will see JRA ultimately undertake some of its road resurfacing maintenance at night to avoid inconveniencing our motorists. This is something that should have been in place many years ago, but that responsibility now falls on those who are capable of fixing South Africa. More work still needs to be done to ensure this entity fulfills its mandate, but we are determined to do the work others simply could not care about. Let me touch on the GT, Johannesburg International Transport Interchange. We engaged in the process to appoint an entity that will manage this very important facility. We are working very closely with Johannesburg Property Company, JPC, to ensure that we appoint and operationalize this facility before the end of January next year. As you know, this world-class facility, which cost almost 500 million, will house cross-border taxis and buses that are currently operating from smaller facilities as well as informal and illegal taxi ranks sometimes. This facility will assist to bring order in the inner city and lessen congestion as well. We will keep you informed on the developments in this regard. Executive Mayor, that's the report I want to give in terms of the Transport Department and the two entities that I'm overseeing. I will quickly go into the Department of Economic Development, which is headed by my colleague MMC Mbundu, who is not here today, having taken leave, and I will do so as quickly as possible. The Department of Economic Development, these are some of the highlights. Number one, acceleration of approval of informal trading system. As you know, it was approved by Council in April 2022. We look forward to the soft launch of this policy, of this system, the digital permit system of the Johannesburg fresh produce market as well, which will be in the Q2 of this financial year. It is critical to note that having been procured as far back as 2019, this system was left to idle and up until multi-party government came into office in the late 2021. Ever since, the development of phase 1 has since been finalized. Additionally, subsequent to MMC Mbundu's direction to ensure that the system assists in the attainment of the multi-party government priorities, the head of department is driving the collaboration across different spheres of government. This digitally savvy system will integrate with the different spheres of government and other agencies for effective regulation of the informal trade sector. Number two, improving the corporate governance in the city's entities. The intervention contributes to the multi-party government mayoral priority of a well-run city priority. The boards of all DED entities, Joburg Market, Joburg Property Company, Metropolitan Trading Company, and Johannesburg Tourism Company have been replaced with new qualified board members, and they are on top of doing the work required to turn around the entities. These are technocrats from a wide array of sectors and include amongst them seasoned lawyers, accountants, sector experts in agriculture, IT, as well as property. I want to quickly go to Johannesburg Tourism Company. MPG has re-established the company. The board and management are currently engaging in refining the strategy in order for the company to launch within the next 2 quarters. At Johannesburg Market, particularly the satellite market in Soweto, Joburg Market has finalized the feasibility study and project plan on the operationalization of this satellite market. The target is to have it operationalized by the new financial year. Touching on the issues of IT skills and partnership, we have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Institute of IT Professionals of South Africa, a 3-year agreement which is aligned to DED's visions for the city to be a leading destination in the development, growth, and promotion of the ICT ecosystem. Ultimately, colleagues, the goal is to slowly transform the city to being a hub of digital innovation on the continent and an employer of choice in the industry. That's the report that I'm delivering on behalf of MMC Mbundu in regards to the DED department. With that, Executive Mayor and the colleagues, thank you very much.
Johannesburg is a city on the move, and Johannesburg is a city that is open for business. I now call on MMC Mabaso, the MMC in charge of human settlements, who will in two parts represent the MMC as well of community development, Councillor Ronald Harris. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The EM is laughing at me because I will need 10 minutes for this. Not 2 minutes allocated. Thank you very much, colleagues. Greeting to the Executive Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, all the officials present, members of the media, and the residents of the city of Johannesburg. I'm also representing the MMC for Community Development, as is out of the country, but I will start with the Department of Human Settlement, then proceed to Community Development. The Department of Human Settlement has made great strides in the efforts to improve and provide decent accommodation for the residents of the city of Johannesburg since the start of the Golden Start. One of our many priorities in the Department of Human Settlement is to issue title deeds to the deserving beneficiaries. We have committed to ensuring that we give ownership of homes to the deserving residents as soon as possible. It has been an honor to hand over title deeds to many residents in the past few months. We have issued title deeds in these areas. Naledi Extension 2 in Region D, where we issued 662. At Riverside View in Region A, we issued 300 title deeds. At Lombardy East Region A, we issued 102 title deeds. In Tsepisong in Region C, we issued 250 title deeds. There are challenges, of course, and one of the challenges is tracing the rightful beneficiaries for the title deeds. Some people have moved, others have sadly passed on, and there are a lot of conflicts within families, people fighting for ownership in the families. The other program that remains the priority in the department is that of sites and service. In February this year, we launched 700 sites and service stands in Zandspruit, which entails the provision of infrastructure such as water, sewer, roads, and related stormwater, as well as fencing of the township along the demarcated boundaries of the township. This project will lead to the de-densification of the Zandspruit informal settlement. Next month, we will be launching service stands at Malibongo Integrated Development Project. These are 150 site and service stands in extension proper. There are challenges, of course, in that mega project. There are 342 inverted units that have been reclaimed through intergovernmental interventions. However, there are shacks that still need to be demolished. 568 units affected by lack of electricity in the area. There are encroachment of the crèche, which prohibits further development. Malibongo Integrated Project is one of the projects that are underfunded in the city, and this prolonged this project. In March this year, with the Executive Mayor, Dr. Mpho Phalatse, we had a sword-turning event to mark the start of the construction of 4,000 plus mixed housing project in Riverside View in Region A. In August, I conducted an oversight visit, and I'm happy to report that a progress made in the construction of this unit is at an advanced stage. This should be a standard for all the contractors in our mega project. We are continuing to deliver houses through our mixed development mega project in the city, still experiencing scarcity of resources, especially on funding for top structure from the provincial government, which poses a serious risk for our annual delivery. We are completing the construction of substation at Moffat View and Flairwharf to increase power supply capacity for the electrification of South Hills development and Flairwharf. A few months ago, we introduced a contractor that will be doing electrification to the existing hostel units at Diepkloof Hostel. City Power was appointed for the electrification and installation of power to the old units. That hostel has been without electricity since inception. At Meadowlands Hostel, the department has concluded its studies for sewer upgrade, since it has been a challenge for many years. The consultants are ready to commence with the work. The challenge is that people are residing on top of the sewer line. There has been engagement with affected households to be relocated from the sewer line. Even the new units cannot be allocated due to bulk sewer connections. At Dube Hostel, we have refurbished 24 units at the Phase 2A. 416 units were developed by the provincial government, later vandalized. Joshco was appointed to refurbish 192 units so far. The township planning process were never concluded by province. Joshco has been appointed to conclude the town planning processes to get occupational certificates for us to allocate all the units that have been completed. The connection of bulk sewer remains a challenge, and we are working with the contractor in Johannesburg Water to resolve that challenge. At Madala Hostel, the redevelopment will commence soon after we have relocated all the residents out of the existing building that we will need to demolish. The construction of temporary units is at a practical completion. As part of addressing the critical shortage of housing backlog in the inner city, the department undertaken to implode the Kazeni building to make a way for future development in the area. The Kazeni building was condemned by court after it caught fire following illegal electrification connection, and sadly, we lost lives. The four-story building implosion of this history paved a way for the development of 1,500 mixed housing units, such as RDP homes and rental units. The residents of the nearby informal settlement will be prioritized during the development of the new housing units. The residents have been relocated to a Kazeni informal settlement. Also in the inner city, we have 2 buildings for low-cost houses that are ready for allocations. We also have 2 social housing buildings that are also at the practical completion stage. One building is ready for occupation, that is for student accommodation. In June, an estimated of 400 shacks burned down in Kwamaimai informal settlement, leaving scores of families homeless. We then temporarily housed them at Wolfland Park Community Center until August, when we relocated them to Kazeni informal settlement. During the relocation of the affected household, we encountered major problems with the landlords who locked the units, demanding that occupants pay them the rent. We condemn this act with the contempt it deserves, because we cannot allow criminals to exploit vulnerable people, and also demand payment for government services that are provided for free. The city of Johannesburg has 313 informal settlements recognized in the city. The department has embarked on the informal settlement upgrading program, with 65 of the informal settlement on phase 1 of the program, 38 informal settlement on phase 2 of the program, and 13 informal settlement on phase 3. Phase 1 of the informal settlement upgrade covers the assessment of the informal settlement, enumeration and the categorization of the informal settlement. Phase 2 of the informal settlement upgrading program covers the following activities: the draft layout plans, the recycling of households, the provision of interim services like your electrification, installation of water stand pipes, access roads, and sanitation. Phase 3 of the informal settlement program talks to your township application, engineering service designs, general plans, detailed investigation, installation of permanent services, opening of township register. The department faced several challenges in executing this program. There are landlords operating within the informal settlement, demanding that residents pay for services and also accommodation, which is provided by government for free. There are shack farming in the informal settlement, and there are illegal occupation of land within the informal settlement. And people erect shacks in places where the land has been earmarked for the development. The department is also inundated with fraud cases of people who are claiming to be officials of the city, others who are claiming to be the MMC of the department, promising people houses in exchange for money. They are demanding anything to these residents. We had a breakthrough in these fraud cases, which I opened July last year, where individuals were using my name pictures to claim money from the vulnerable people. 3 suspects were arrested in February this year. They are on trial. Through engagement with law enforcement agents, we have resolved that all fraud cases will be handled by South African Police Service Organised Crime Division. The Department of Human Settlement had a media briefing together with the Executive Mayor, highlighting these challenges that we have encountered with these fraud cases. During the month of June, the Department of Human Settlement hosted the inaugural Youth in Construction Summit on 29 June 2002 in commemoration of the Youth Month. The aim of the summit was to create a platform to expose the youth to future opportunities in the construction industry, to share experience with the industry leaders, as well as to bridge the skills gap and highlight opportunities that exist within the industry. As a young person myself, I am committed to create a platform and opportunities for young people to interact and learn from the well-established companies in the sector. A steering committee has been appointed to drive the declaration of the summit and ensure that they fit positively into the next summit at the same time next year. Thank you very much. I'm now going to go through the community development report. So it's now MMC Harris speaking, not me. The Golden Start marks the beginning of a government that aims to bring change and restore hope and dignity to the lives of our people through the service delivery. The department has highlighted key success initiatives. The Mega Blitz cleanup programs. A total of 5 Mega Blitz cleanup programs were undertaken regionally together with accelerated service delivery initiatives and maintaining of identified hotspot areas joined by the members of the Mayoral Committee. The City of Johannesburg Citizens Relations and Urban Management, commonly known as CRAM, and other entities, and the departments and local communities. The department has successfully planted trees and green fencing. A total of 2,720 trees were planted as part of the green fencing project in Brixton Cemetery in Region B. The executive mayor and other dignitaries were in attendance. An initiative of planting at least 10 million trees was initiated by the President's Office over 5 years period, forming part of the Green Initiative. The project is primarily aimed at a greening of township and other residential areas. 1 million trees has been planted. The 2022 Urban City Awards Competition Phase 1 and 2 assessment has commenced. The project is subdivided into 3 phases. JCPZ has submitted the required proposal to partake in this competition. JCPZ is working with the Department of Human Settlement in driving to remove the blue gum trees that are mostly found within the informal settlement areas, which pose a risk to the livelihood of our residents that inhabit the space. The park launch of Lynch Park, Ripon and Dlomo Park were highlighted for the Johannesburg resident, with a special mention made in the Executive Mayor's State of the City Address. The capacitation of park rangers, environmental monitors, environmental enforcement. Security dogs were deployed in Brixton Cemetery as a scare tactic to minimize theft or vandalism of the city-owned asset and the illegal occupation of the public spaces. Towards the capacitation of environmental monitors or park rangers, the company recruited 14 environmental monitors. The project also speaks to 150 park rangers capacitation drive from the strategic mayoral pronouncement. The Masibambane Zoo Outreach Program. Through the Masibambane Educational Program, administered by Zoo, a total of 10,206 beneficiaries benefited. An additional 18 were deployed from GDAD as part of the graduate internship program to JCPZ. 17 proposals were submitted to Gauteng Entrepreneur proper to assist the JPCZ cooperatives with the funding to purchase minor plant equipment. 7 co-ops have received machines to the value of 15,000 each. The Linden Market was hosted at a botanical gardens with an average of 3,000 people visited market each day. The Zoo Lake Basketball were nominated for the International Hidden Court campaign by NBA and Hennis. The facility is being refurbished and will be part of an international campaign. The South African National Park, through the Wild Economic Program, launched JCPZ, delivered 25 black wild beasts at the Conservative and Research Farm. Through the Job Creation and Cooperative Support Program maintained by JCPZ, a total of 3,142 jobs opportunities were created and 42 cooperatives were supported. The challenges that have been highlighted is the homeless people dwelling in the open spaces, illegal occupation of public open spaces. The mitigation measure there, it's monthly bids that are being undertaken by stakeholders including CRAM and JMPD. Public dumping of branches and rubbles in POS, the environmental and awareness campaigns, environmental education, and the bylaw is listed as a mitigation measure. The illegal removal of trees, the environmental awareness campaigns, the bylaw enforcement, and environmental education, civil claims will be part of the mitigation measure. Dilapidating and vandalized infrastructure, Also public awareness campaigns, bylaw enforcement, allocation of additional budget, a 3-year repair and maintenance strategy, park rangers rollout and private security technology. Mitigation from animal rights, litigations from animal rights group. JPCZ has acquired the services of independent service provider to assess the conditions of elephant in the captive environment to prepare for a possible court cases. The insourcing of project, the security and cleaners. The approval to transfer the management of the payroll to JPCZ. So those are part of the challenges and mitigations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MMC Mabaso. It's apt that community development as well as human settlements were delivered by one person, because there's deliberate work being done to build an inclusive city where the poor are not relegated to the outskirts of the city but are brought inwards and are able to access the city's amenities. Now, when you talk about service delivery, what we think are water and lights, I call on MMC Michael Sun, who is in charge of the Department of Environment and Infrastructure Services. Possibly one of the most liked MMCs when the lights stay on and water runs, but most hated when those things don't happen. MMC Sun.
Good morning. When MMC actually Sauls the First was called up on to do the opening prayer, and he started with a report, and I thought to myself, oh my, is he really showing off and breaking to the heavens above? But then he did do the opening prayer. Good morning, residents of the city of Johannesburg, Executive Mayor Dr. Mpho Phalatse, my fellow MMCs, city manager, councillors, of course, very importantly, our officials in the city of Johannesburg. Quite rightly said by Mabine, my name is Michael Sun. I am the MMC for Environment and Infrastructure Services in the city of Johannesburg. I am responsible for the political oversight of City Power, Johannesburg Water, Pick It Up, and also the Environment Department. Please allow me to start with Pick It Up. Pick It Up is a very important entity within our city, and if a city or our neighborhood or streets are not clean, it immediately impacts on your feelings and visuals, so it is extremely important to keep our streets clean. So to ensure that we have a clean city, we've deployed mechanical sweepers to sweep the inner city and other places. I just spoken to our MD for Pick It Up. In fact, it was a high request that we have more of these mechanized fleet in the form of sweepers to clean every single city, every single street in our CBDs in the city. Now, another success and good news I want to share with you is that we've recently procured 46, 41 of which are delivered, compactors, another specialized fleet to help us to clean up illegal dumping across the city. I'll very soon be joining our executive mayor to invite you to the launch of that fleet project. I really want to ask our residents and share this information with you that Pick It Up spends 64 million rand a year in cleaning up litter. More than 70 million rand a year to clean up illegal dumping. Now, if you add that together, that is resources and funding that we shouldn't have to spend as the city. In fact, we can better utilize those funding to improve services in the other areas of the city of Johannesburg. Now, there's a lot more I can share with you, but I'm told that I have 2 minutes. But one thing I do want to share with you in terms of Pick It Up is that we clean the inner city twice a day. Joburg CBD is infamous for the dirt and the refuse and the rubbish that's lying around. So we really want to ask our business customers, our residents in the inner city to please help us to say that cleaning up is not a government's responsibility alone. In fact, we can only bring you a clean environment if the government and the residents work together. Now, I'm moving on to Johannesburg water. I know many residents, in fact, I didn't know this until I took this job as the MMC for EISD, that we have over 12,000 kilometers of water network pipes running under the ground of the city of Joburg. Just under 12,000 kilometers of sewer pipes running in the city of Johannesburg. Now, I don't know how many times back and forth to Cape Town that is, but I can assure you that is a lot of piping. Unfortunately, some of the pipes are so old that they date back to 1903. I see my ED for EISD, Mr. Tian Ellis, is here. I also can vouch for him that he wasn't born in 1903. But these are the kind of aging infrastructure that we have to deal with. The good news is that, again, I share with you is that we've embarked on the pipe replacement program in the city of Johannesburg. I've just now received another notification that we have an asbestos pipe burst in the Fourways area. They continue to burst because these pipes are extremely old. In fact, no one manufactures those pipes in the city of Johannesburg anymore. So we really need to replace those pipes with new technology and ensure that we keep clean water running and these water are not being wasted in the city of Joburg. Recently, the executive mayor led myself and the officials in Joburg Water, we opened up the Lanseria, the Lenasia Reservoir. That is another major project. Unfortunately, there are challenges in terms of infrastructure damage, theft of water, illegal connections, the growing number of residents using those water resources. So we will forever have to build and continue to build infrastructure in the city of Johannesburg. Very soon we'll be breaking ground in Lanseria. I beg your pardon, I keep on getting Lenasia and Lanseria wrong. Lanseria wastewater treatment works, again, that will be another major project to serve the residents of the city of Johannesburg. I now want to move to city power. I know our residents are frustrated, our customers are frustrated. In fact, we are in the load shedding cycle again. Unfortunately, that we are in the hands of Eskom when it comes to that. But I'm quite sure that our executive mayor will tell you more about the projects we have here in terms of IPP procurements, that's the independent power producers, to ensure that our residents and customers can have lesser reliance on Eskom, that the city of Johannesburg will then be able to protect our residents and customers from the effects of load shedding. You will note that we held the very successful first ever Energy Indaba in the city of Johannesburg, and the aim of that is exactly to find the right mix of alternative energy for our residents and customers to ensure that we bring you good, reliable, efficient, and cost-effective energy across the city of Joburg. And again, we have other projects such as the street lights replacement programs. We are looking at retrofitting our street lights with LED technology, which will give you probably 5 to 15 times more years of lifespan, that will save 3 to 5 times more energy for city power, so we can use those saved resources and time to ensure that we bring you even more improved service delivery. The other very exciting project I want to share with you is the solar high mast lighting that we're going to roll out. We're in the design and procurement stage. The reason for those solar high mast lighting is that in areas such as Soweto, Eldorado Park, where we have crime, and of course, MMC Tembe in public safety is working very closely on that. But we need to do our part to ensure that sufficient public lighting is there to help our residents to keep safe. So those projects will be rolled out to say that when there's no electricity, we are still able to keep our streets bright. And of course, very importantly, the environment. We only have one Earth in one environment. The good news I want to share with you again is that we successfully established a joint environmental education forum that comprises of the city and the entities, that we are conducting a monthly meeting, and we have successfully hosted the commemoration of all environmental theme days where we have reached out to over 1,000 learners to date. And one very important thing is we are currently in Air Quality Week, as we adopted in the city of Johannesburg. Air quality is something that we don't really see until it really affects our health. So the city has now relaunched the refurbished ambient air quality monitoring station in Davisonville just last week. This is one of the 8 monitoring stations the city has. Unfortunately, it was previously vandalized so badly that we had to spend millions to restore. But this is a very important piece of equipment to ensure that we get the right information and data to keep our air quality in the city of Johannesburg in a good, acceptable, and healthy status. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Executive Mayor, we are not without historical issues and problems in the city of Johannesburg. We have a lot to fix. Whilst we are fixing, there are elements, criminal elements that are working against us. They are vandalizing, they are stealing our cables. In fact, every time we receive the load shedding schedule from Eskom, to us that is also a timetable to the criminals out there to say that during these times you are open to go steal cables and vandalize because there will be no power supply. It will be safe for you to chop up cables. So we have intensified our security measures. We are working very closely with our security cluster. Some of the numbers I do want to share with you, these really bring a smile to my face, because when I see criminals being arrested, you know, it makes me happy. And I'm sure that also makes MMC Tembe happy. The number of criminals arrested, you will not believe. When I took office, Executive Mayor, we made the promise to the resident that we will reduce cable theft by 20% at the end of this financial year. Up to date, we have seen the arrest of 193 suspects involved in vandalization of our infrastructure and cable theft, being arrested and put behind bars. Just to give an example, that in the month of July 2022, 41 suspects were arrested. And this compared to 24 in month of July 2021, and this is a 71% increase. We cannot take credit for this. I want to say thank you to those community patroller groups from Randburg to Orange Farm to Soweto to Ivory Park to Sandton to Fourways, that's doing their work every single night to help us to protect our infrastructure. And just to say that we cannot do this alone. 9 suspects convicted to a collective 82 years direct imprisonment because they were stealing our cables and vandalizing our infrastructure. And this is where I want to call upon the residents to please come forward. They work within our neighborhoods, within our communities. If we should not say anything, they will simply get away and continue with their business. But when you see those 9 suspects put away for a combined 84 years of imprisonment, it really says something to say that together, government and residents can do much, much more. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I don't work alone. I work with my fellow MMCs under the leadership of our Executive Mayor and our councillors. I'll be working very closely as before with the MMC Belinda Ichuzonjoko in terms of the issues we face in the city of Johannesburg, our MMC for housing, MMC Mabaso, MMC David Tembe in terms of safety, MMC Funzi Ngubeni for transport. We went out to Princess just the other day to having to deal with multiple issues. And of course, my other MMCs for finance, Julius Surubi, and MMC for GCSS, Leon Knott, and my other 2 MMCs are not chair, are also very importantly when we come to service delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I wake up and go to sleep with 4 things in my mind. In line with our mayoral priority to get basics right, I need to get the following done. 1, keep the lights on, that is to ensure that city power functions well, that we have a stable electricity supply. Number 2, keep the taps running, that is Johannesburg Water, where we bring you stable and clean drinkable water. Number 3, keep our streets clean, that is ensure, pick it up, do their work, keep our street and neighborhoods clean. And number 4, very important for me, to ensure that our residents live in a clean and green environment that we are going to preserve for our children and future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MMC Sun. The penultimate MMC to step up to the podium will be MMC Tembe, the MMC in charge of public safety, once the chief of police himself, hence we call him Chief MMC. This is the same MMC who once threatened to set up a roadblock just outside the metro center here so that he could catch city employees who owe his department money. But we'll hear more from him. Thank you, MMC.
Thanks so much. Good morning. Executive Mayor, MMCs, member of the media, and of course my colleagues that are here. I see everybody who is here is looking forward to see what public safety is doing. My name is David Tembe. I'm in charge of public safety. That means licensing, JMPD, disaster management, EMS, and security. When we started early this year, in February, we deployed 1,800 in the inner city. There was an outcry, and the executive mayor came to me and said that the region has got no people. Why do you take everybody? Why do you take all officers to the inner city? I said, first, if we can win the inner city about crime, then the rest, we are going to win them. So the test of public safety is in the inner city. But then I explained to the executive mayor that those officers were not officers because they didn't have the tools of the trade, no firearms, no reflective jackets, no bulletproofs. They couldn't even write a citation because they didn't have infrastructure number. So we're just taken there when they qualified as Metro Police. It's one of the 1,500. So we have to deal with those issues, explain it to the community that we didn't take them. They are in the inner city so that we can sort those other issues. Now they've got infrastructure number. They can write citation. Now they've got bulletproof vests in this short time that we're in office. Now they've got boots, which they didn't have. They've got uniform. So what we're doing now is we're deploying officers, Metro Police, not just to be visible, into the regions. We have started by deploying 100 in Soweto. So Soweto will have 240. We have made a promise that will fight crime wherever it is in Johannesburg. So the executive mayor, in the next month, will go to all the region and introduce to the community how many officers they've got, how many cars they've got, and how are we going to do our job. So we'll start with all the region A to region G. We are going to launch our new officers in those areas. Already we have deployed 100 in Randburg, I think it's region C, and we are going to deploy other areas. Each and everyone will get 100 of the officers. We are not depleting officers in the inner city. Of course, they are doing a good job, but we want to ensure that everywhere we work, we do our job properly. During the load shedding, we gave an instruction to all the officers that from 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock, nobody do anything except controlling traffic. Now I see that the load shedding is coming back. I think we're on the 4th today. We're going to do that again. And then 16 hours to 18 hours. That's what we have given our officers to do. During this short period that we have been in office, we have taken 80 EPWP to be trained as traffic wardens. As we are saying now, they are in the academy, and we're looking forward of training more. We're in the discussion that we have to train traffic officers because it takes a year to train traffic officers. Training Metro Police takes long. It will take 3 years. So for us to be safe in the inner city, we are making sure that we capacitate our regions. One of the successes that we have done is with EMS. There was a child that was Kayale Tumagadla, who slipped and fell into the hole in Soweto. You see, sometimes we take our EMS personnel like they are not doing anything, because nobody talks about what they are doing. Our urban search and rescue took 21 days that they were walking under these holes. And they managed to find and give the family the child that was fallen into that hole. So they had a closure. So I say that our urban search and rescue in EMS are our heroes. We need to recognize them. There are a lot of issues that they are doing. For 21 days, everybody phones and says, congratulations to EMS. But regardless, whatever we take them to be. During the Mandela month, public safety refurbished a house in Zola. In Zola. The 85-year-old was living in that house that didn't even have a roof. And she's taking care of her grandchildren, about 8. So us as the police and us as the city, under the leadership of Executive Mayor, we had to do something different. So we got sponsors at the rate of about 70,000, and we refurbished that house as public safety and as the city of Johannesburg. Last week, we're putting some curtains, tiles, and we tried to put up a garden at the back. And I was so shocked that some of the Metro Police are electricians, and they did it themselves. They didn't hire anyone. So that's how this government that we have now, says that we take care of our own. But we are going to reduce our fatalities on our roads. We'll put a percentage on how we're going to do it, because most fatalities on our roads is pedestrian accidents. It's those who are walking, drunken driving, we're going to deal with it, and we are dealing with it. You'll get a full report as time goes on. But there's one thing that we need to show the world, that public safety in Johannesburg is not the same as other public safety. We have started a program. This program is high visibility. It will be high visibility in all places in the city. We started in Alexander. We call it 22 points, 44 points, and 88 points. That means that at any given time, we're going to have, in fact, we have 22 roadside checks at the same time. If you have 22 in Alexander, you're going to still have 22 at the same time in the inner city. And you're still going to have 22 in Soweto. You can go and check. Whenever we are, you'll find that they are there. Visibility is the way to go, because this drive-by shooting, it doesn't happen inside the tower. Those who are shooting come, drive there and shoot and then move on. So we are having these 22 points, 44 points, and 88 points at the same time to ensure that we stop and search and stop and frisk. So that's what we are going to do, and this is what we are doing now. In terms of our bylaws, we have demolished. I think some other political parties are going to fight me here. I don't want to mention names, but we have demolished 1,540 shacks. And then we have taken illegal posters, 20,000. And we have visited 25 scrap yards that was raided. Stolen copper, over 1 million. And I've heard MMC's son said that we have, this was in one day, this one of 1 million. We arrested them, and they are still in jail right now. Public safety is going to, or we are busy having a proper infrastructure unit that will work with SAPS. But then we can't wait for SAPS because SAPS is busy too. We need to have our own infrastructure unit that will deal with all these other issues. The issue of illegal immigrant, it's a burning issue, and we are going to deal with it. And we are not going to apologize in dealing with it. So those are the issues that we want to deal with. If we don't do it, people are afraid of coming to the city, and the economy will suffer if we don't do that. The issue of hijacked building, the abandoned building, we are making a commitment that will start. We have been doing it, keeping quiet. You know, sometimes when you do these illegal buildings, there are people who are pushing you back. Sometimes you have to do it quietly. But we are not going to do it quietly now. We are going to make sure that we publicize how many buildings we have we got back from the city. I was driving around with the business people in the inner city. We look at these houses that have been, the buildings that have been hijacked. It's not only here, even in Soweto. There are places that they've got buildings that have been hijacked. Because when you look at Wumamletis, those who know places like Wumamletis, who owns those buildings? It is not our people. So we need to visit them and say, we still own the city, you don't own the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief MMC, and I'm reminded as well that it is your birthday and Ashley Souls will be taking you out after this. Last but not least, among the MMCs, the MMC who holds the purse strings of the city, the MMC for Finance, Councillor Julie Sutterby. Thank you, MMC.
Thank you, Mabina. And Executive Mayor, Cllr Mpho Phalatse, members of the Mayoral Committee, fellow councillors, members of the media, and most importantly, to the residents of the city of Johannesburg, good afternoon. Today is indeed a day of celebration for this multi-party government. We are, due to hard work and dedication, able to give you encouraging news.
The goals that our mayor set out for us in the Golden Start have been largely met, and the Golden Repair is well underway. And I'm proud to stand next to all the other members of the Mayoral Committee who have dedicated themselves to real change. In the Finance Department, we've made significant headway, delivering on our promises of credible financial governance, value for money, appreciating our residents' contributions, and treating you with respect. At the start of our term, we announced Operation Clean Audit, and subsequently, the OPCO Steering Committee was formed. And we have since seen a significant increase in the resolution of audit findings, a 10% increase from the previous financial year. A clean government is a government that you can trust, and that is our aim, to win back the trust of our residents. To assist bringing about clean government, we have been working with our group forensic and investigation services to bring crooked officials to book. There is no room in this government for corrupt officials, and there are no holy cows. GFIS has conducted several investigations which have resulted in referrals to departments which could lead to arrest and imprisonment. In turn, our legal department has done stellar work in the establishment of the Disciplinary Cases Directorate that has resulted in improved turnaround times for disciplinary action and a notable reduction in legal costs. When it comes to revenue collection, the multi-party government has committed itself to being both caring and responsible. So customers who can pay must do so, and those who cannot must be assisted. To this end, we launched the Revenue Collection War Room, and since we have been in government, we have exceeded revenue collection by over 2 billion rand in comparison to the same period in the previous year. And on the other hand, we launched phase 3 of the debt rehabilitation program that has to date, over the 2.5 years that it was in place, written off over 180 million rand, assisting our most vulnerable residents. We appreciate the fact that many of our residents do not have resources to travel to walk-in centres to resolve queries. Between March and June this year, we have hosted 7 open days across all regions. At these open days, residents' queries can be resolved immediately, they can pay on the spot, and can be assisted in understanding their accounts. Another initiative has been the Zenzele electronic bill and payment platform, and to date, over 68,000 customers have been registered, which has resulted in the collection of 94.1 million rand on that platform. Added to that platform is that customers can now upload both their water and their city power meter readings online. In short, ladies and gentlemen, we have made immense progress. But this government will not be satisfied until Johannesburg is a financially prosperous city that can provide services for its citizens that they so rightly deserve. There lies a road ahead yet, and this group of dedicated and committed MMCs, led by our Mayor, Dr. Mpho Phalatse, are fully committed to delivering on this golden repair. Thank you.
Thank you, MMC Sadabi, and thank you to all the members of the Mayoral Committee. We now come to the keynote address by the Executive Mayor, Cllr Mpho Phalatse, possibly one of the hardest working politicians in this country, who, even when placed on bed rest, will insist on working. But will listen to her staff when we insist that, Madam Mayor, please take some time to rest. The city will stand for a few days without you at the helm. But nonetheless, we call on Dr. Mayor, as she's known as some, to step to the podium and deliver the Golden Report of the City of Johannesburg. Thank you, Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Mabine. Thank you so much to all of you for being here today. You've heard from all our MMCs. They've gone into great detail, taking us through all the hard work that they've been busy putting into the work of rebuilding the city for you, our residents, our 6 million residents of the city. I'm very proud to work with such a hardworking, knowledgeable, experienced, highly qualified, committed and passionate team of individuals from diverse political parties, diverse backgrounds, who share a common vision of a rebuilt and a renewed and restored city of Johannesburg. But I cannot start giving you our summary report without first acknowledging my Heavenly Father, who called me to this assignment and who daily gives me the strength and the grace to carry on and to withstand all the challenges and obstacles that stand in my way, because of the great resolve that He has given me, that we're going to see this project through and that we're going to see this term of office through. I'd also really like to thank my political party for trusting me with this task and for supporting me through it. I'd like to thank our coalition partners for sticking it out in very tumultuous times through various challenges, and for really showing South Africans that coalitions can work, and for sharing a common vision of a rebuilt and renewed South Africa that we're building together, one municipality at a time. I'd also like to thank our officials, without whom we would have been able to achieve everything that we've been able to achieve in the last 9 months in office. I'd like to thank, in particular, my Chief of Staff, who is here behind us today, Mr. Mike Moriarty, who's really my anchor and my pillar of strength daily and helps me in a lot of things. Thank you so much for being here today. I will now give you our summary report based on all the achievements that the MMCs have already shared with us. Residents of Johannesburg, it's been 245 days since the 12th of January 2022, when I stood here on behalf of the duly elected Joburg multi-party government and for the 6 million residents of the city across its 7 regions, where I outlined the Golden Start for service delivery in Johannesburg, where we committed to ushering in a new era for service delivery for the short, medium, and long term. That day was preceded by a momentous announcement on the 13th of December 2022 of the 10 members of the Mayoral Committee who come from a diversity of political parties and localities across the length and breadth of Johannesburg. Some of us were born in this beautiful but broken city. Some of us came here from different parts of the country in search of our piece of gold, and we never left. Our stories might be different, but our different paths have led us to the forming of a strong, united, and agile multi-party government in the country's economic capital. Has it been easy? No, it hasn't. But notwithstanding our differences, we all agree on the changes that are needed to repair and rebuild the city of great potential. And this mission we're on comes at a critical time for our city and its residents. The multi-party government service delivery program for repairing and rebuilding the city finds expression in the 7 mayoral priorities that we outlined as the Joburg multi-party government. It also finds expression in our IDP and in our service delivery business implementation program and the business plans of the various departments and entities, 13 municipal entities. It also finds expression in our 77.3 billion rand budget, which we're busy implementing to ensure that our city looks better for you, our residents. If you can please just slow down on the teleprompter. I will take you now through the 7 mayoral priorities, the first one being getting the basics right. And I think you've heard from what the MMCs have been presenting that indeed we've done a lot to make sure that we get the basics right. The second priority is of a safe and secure city. MMC Tembe has spoken much to that. The third priority is for a caring city. MMC Ashley Sauls the first has spoken a lot to that. We've also promised our residents a business-friendly city, and various departments are contributing towards that priority. We've promised you an inclusive city. The MMC for Human Settlements, as well as the MMC for Community Development, have contributed a lot to that. We've promised you a well-run city, and I'm sure you heard from the MMCs that we're committed to good corporate governance. We've also promised you a smart city, as you have heard from the various initiatives that we've been implementing. As a C40 Cities member and vice chair, there's a green thread that runs through all our priorities. Our agenda for achieving a low to net zero carbon footprint for all new buildings in the city by 2030, while achieving a total net zero performance compliance standard by 2050, is outlined in the Joburg Climate Action Plan. Residents of Johannesburg, during the Mayoral Golden Start Address 8 months ago, we outlined 38 key interventions for the remainder of the financial year, which ended on 30 June 2022. You must understand that stepping into government mid-financial year, when programs are ongoing and budgets have been allocated, is a difficult but surmountable hurdle in wanting to immediately execute your programs. With an adjustment budget coming in February 2023, we had to work smart by identifying what was working and what was not, and adjust the budget accordingly in line with the small wiggle room that legislation allows us. Some of the changes were also not budgetary. We had and still have the task of changing the culture in the city's public service. We needed to identify where the human resource strengths and gaps existed, and we had to quickly close the taps of corruption by investigating, charging, and prosecuting cases of corruption, equally acting on reports that have sat unsigned or in limbo. MMCs, of the 38 interventions that we set on achieving by the end of the financial year, we achieved 25 of them. We partially achieved 9, and we have 4 that we've started implementing, but where we're not yet over the line. These 38 were our initial interventions, but along the way we managed to complete and advance projects that we had not initially set our sights on. So over and above the Golden Start promise, we were able to do more. The Golden Report outlines in full detail what these programs and projects entailed, but I'll touch on some of them, as have the MMCs. Esteemed residents of Johannesburg, interventions that were achieved are as follows. An intervention that was necessary was for us to begin the work of refurbishing and upgrading of our key infrastructure, so that as we restart our economy, sustain economic growth, we seek to continuously boost economic activity in the city of golden opportunities. Standing here today, the country has experienced 63 days of rolling blackouts this year alone, and we can anticipate that it will only get worse. It is why I worked closely with the MMC for Infrastructure and Environment, MMC Michael Son, and the City Power leadership under Ms. Cllr Mpho to convene a 2-day Joburg energy indaba that has set in motion the process of procuring an additional 500 megawatts of energy mix, which will enable us to avert rolling blackouts up to stage 5. There's been great interest in the outcomes of the energy indaba from both local and international investors and innovators. Our requests for proposal are currently with the National Treasury for approval. We've already begun setting in motion the foundation for this initiative to succeed when we allocated the largest portion of the capital budget to City Power, 1.2 billion rands of the 7.7 billion rands for this financial year was allocated to City Power, and this will enable us to refurbish, upgrade, and secure our distribution network to reduce power outages and strengthen it for the onboarding of independent power producers. This aligns with getting the basics right and building a business-friendly city. To illustrate the inherent infrastructure challenges that we inherited, which we're determined to overcome, the city is burdened with a 300 billion rand infrastructure backlog, but only has a capital budget provision of only 7.7 billion rands, the same amount that Eskom spent on diesel in the first 6 months of this year alone. We are nonetheless working around the clock to meet the target of getting independent power producers online in the city. This will ensure that Joburgers and the economy can be guaranteed reliable, affordable, and sustainable electricity supply. A key driver behind building a well-run, inclusive, and business-friendly city is the Department of Transport under the leadership of MMC Councillor Mpho Phalatse. As it stands, not everybody stays close to economic and personal opportunities, but this matters less when public transport is affordable and works well and is well integrated. The 105 newly refurbished buses will enhance daily bus availability as the demand for public transport increases due to the ever-increasing petrol price. It's worth mentioning that we had set the target of refurbishing 100 buses, but we exceeded this target by refurbishing 105 buses at a cost of approximately 50 million rands. Congratulations to MMC and the JRA and Metrobus. This is a huge boost for the second largest bus operator in South Africa, which employs 890 people, operating a fleet of 420 buses, which includes 2 luxury buses and 6 special needs buses with hydraulic wheelchair lifts. Through partnerships with the private sector and accelerated service delivery programs, we've begun reducing economic damage caused by potholes and the occurrence of them by directing necessary skills and capital to the repair, maintenance, and upgrading of our roads infrastructure. We all dream of a safer city, and it's why MMC David Tembe has been working closely with the SAPS, the city's Group Forensic and Investigation Services Unit, and the Office of the Executive Mayor to move forward with the Johannesburg City Safety Strategy. The city administration has approved a draft memorandum of understanding to be tabled before council, and this reaffirms the city's drive to provide for a safe and secure space for citizens, business, and all who visit the city. The partnership with the SAPS will also ensure that we most effectively use the security assets of the city, but also leverage relationships with other law enforcement agencies. We're also working closely with the SAPS in the space of reducing cable theft. When this administration sounded the alarm and called on SAPS to bolster our efforts, they were quick to respond to our call. We've thus seen a gradual decrease in the number of cable theft and vandalism to critical infrastructure. The program is bearing positive results, as 193 suspects were arrested in 2021-22 financial year, compared to only 75 in the 2020-2021 financial year, which translates to a 157% increase. Furthermore, 41 suspects were arrested in July 2022, compared to only 24 in July 2021, translating to a 71% increase. Thank you. 9 convictions have been effected to date, with a collective 82 years of direct imprisonment. That, ladies and gentlemen, is justice. Residents of Joburg, as of the 1st of July 2022, the Department of Housing was renamed the Department of Human Settlements in order to align its work with the provincial and national spheres of government. The MMC for Human Settlements Councillor Mlungisi Mabaso has been hard at work to reduce the city's close to 500,000 housing demand backlog through various initiatives, including the 10 informal settlements identified for the upgrading of informal settlements program. 2 standout projects who've begun working on are the Zandspread serviced sites, where over 700 sites were launched, giving 1,178 families an opportunity to build their homes in the Zandspread area. The upgraded stands will be provided with water, accessible roads, stormwater network, as well as fencing off the township along the demarcated boundary. I'm most excited about the implosion of the Kasene building in the CBD, because not only does this project address the housing backlog, but it's also an investment in our inner city rejuvenation program that'll see 1,500 low-cost housing units close to social and economic amenities. Equally, we've launched housing projects in Vleerhof, where 1,580 units were released, South Hills, with 392 units, and Riverside View with 752 units. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about rebuilding Johannesburg, we're in most instances speaking about ensuring that the Department of Development Planning, under the leadership of Councillor Belinda Echuzunjoku, is able to approve buildings efficiently and rapidly. On the 10th of January 2022, as MMC has shared, the online construction permit management system went live. And this enables architects and developers to submit building applications and plans online. This has accelerated the permitting processes, improved building plan examination and compliance, and ultimately prevents corruption and collusion in the construction sector. Councillor Julie Sadabi, the MMC for Finance, has the important task of ensuring that inter alia we spend the residents' money correctly and also collect monies owed to the city so that we can advance service delivery programs. In February, the multi-party government relaunched its integrated bylaw enforcement and revenue enhancement campaign, Operation Buya Mthetho, which targeted delinquent ratepayers. This resulted in the city achieving its target of collecting up to 4 billion rands per month, and in some months we managed to even exceed this target. Equally, the department has worked closely with the Office of the Executive Mayor to finalize the review of the terms of reference for the city's Group Forensic and Investigation Services Unit, and this is almost due for approval from Council. This, alongside the reconstruction of the Disciplinary Board as the Financial Misconduct Board, will strengthen our fight against corruption, and the multi-party government remains committed to this cause. In the economic development space, under Councillor Cllr Mpho, in April, the Council passed the informal trading policy, and work is being done across departments to finalize its rollout. This recognizes informal traders as a critical role player in the economy of the city. Residents of Johannesburg, the Department of Health and Social Development, led by Councillor Ashley Sauls I, has ensured that the Davidsonville community-based substance abuse program is fully operational, ensuring that residents receive the necessary assistance when dealing with debilitating effects of addiction and substance abuse, and we will be launching this facility tomorrow. Furthermore, 65 health facilities provide COVID-19 vaccinations. The health department managed to phase out 27 non-medical sites and managed to activate the vaccination program within the facilities, irrespective of infrastructural challenges. All the city's 78 facilities and 1 satellite facility provide COVID-19 testing and screening, and this is all free of charge to our residents. On the social development side, I was also proud to join MMC Sauls I as we broke ground at what will be the brand new gold standard Bertram's Multipurpose Center, which will bring city services and programs closer to residents in the inner city and surrounds. MMC Leonard, who leads the operations of the executive and city through the Department of Group, Corporate and Shared Services, has been hard at work to ensure that we brought all staff back to work so that the city could operate and deliver at full capacity. Not only that, but a hybrid working policy was introduced to ensure that we're able to attract the best possible talent while keeping up with global best practice. Councillor Nard's department was also integral in routing irregularly employed fixed-term staff whose contracts were illegally converted to permanent. This intervention saved the city close to 100 million rands per annum, and this money will be directed towards service delivery. Equally, the department worked tremendously hard to fill vacancies of senior managers and recruit and fill the boards of all entities in record time with men and women of integrity. Equally, we're working towards finalizing the appointment of a city manager by the end of September. It's critical that the city has competent and permanent chief administrators. Ladies and gentlemen, the MMC for Community Development, MMC Councillor Ronald Harris, instituted the 7-11 Boots on the Ground program, where several days of the week, senior managers are out of the office and on the ground to ensure that public spaces and facilities are usable. Senior managers cannot simply rely on reports to make an assessment of the needs of communities. The green canopy of the city is iconic, and therefore I'm proud to announce that the Joburg City Parks and Zoo was able to exceed its target of planting 10,000 trees across the city. Residents of Johannesburg. Earlier in the year, we relaunched the Mayoral Integrated Service Delivery Region by Region campaign, which has been to Region B, Region F, and Region G. This Friday, we will be in Region C in Cllr. This mayoral campaign will see the city and the entire city and its residents and MMCs on the ground every 30 to 60 days, taking charge of the environment and cleaning up their spaces. This is part of our effort to work with and for our communities. We've also created strong bonds with the private sector, especially towards the work of reviving the CBD through the Inner City Partnership Forum, which will enable the private sector in the city to work towards a common goal of reviving the inner city as the work, live, play, and pray hub of Johannesburg. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go on for days outlining the work done by this multi-party government over the last 8 months to restore hope and dignity in the lives of our residents. But what was said today gives you an idea of the task that we have ahead of us until the year 2026, when this term of office ends. It gives you an idea of the mountains that we've climbed in the short space of time that we've been in office. The full Golden Report will be available on our website at joburg.org.za, and the QR code, which will be available on social media, and that's also been distributed on your way here. You would have seen it along the corridors. Indeed, we still have much work to do, but Joburg is starting to look and feel better. I'd really like to thank all of you for contributing towards this journey, and I'd like to reiterate the important role that our residents have to play in helping us with our project of rebuilding and restoring Johannesburg to her former glory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Executive Mayor. Indeed, this has been a government that has been hard at work. It has faced headwinds, but despite those headwinds, the aim has always been to succeed and to work together in the interests of all residents. We're about to wrap up, but we will quickly open for questions from members of the media. If you could state which media house you represent and who your question's directed at. I'm only getting smiles, which means that as residents of Johannesburg, you're happy with the work that we're doing here. If there are no questions, ladies and gentlemen, Executive Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, the Chief Whip, as well as the Chief of Staff, thank you very much for your time, and let us continue rebuilding and repairing the city of Johannesburg. Good afternoon.